So welcome to Impact with the third annual Culture Shock. So for those of you who don't know, the Culture Shock is a super informal kind of forum just to talk about those things we don't really talk about a lot. So those uncomfortable conversations that you don't necessarily have in big groups on a regular basis. And since it's Black History Month, this one will be centered around Blackness. We do have a topic wheel, that's the word. So please feel free, this is a discussion, it's not us sitting up here telling you about these things. Please talk back to us, and the people who are tuning in via Teams, please feel free to raise your hand in the chat, or if you want to type something in there, I will be looking. I have the chat open the entire time, so please feel free to utilize that. All right, so Taylor, you can go ahead and spin, and we'll get started. Any questions before we start? Okay, so this is a very open space and a safe space for everyone. So please feel free to share your opinions, and we haven't had one yet to where someone hasn't cried. So please don't feel any type of way if you do get a little emotional. That is perfectly fine. All right, so Taylor, you can go ahead and spin our topic wheel. Starting off strong.
We got stereotypes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess usually I would go first.
Anyone want to chime in on that first?
Am I going? Okay, I guess I'm going first. There's so many that I can't really wrap my head around. I can't quite think of them all. Since I am a Black woman, the closest one I can think of is the angry Black woman, which is stuff we usually bring that up a lot in this type of setting. So that stereotype sticks out to me the most because I am a Black woman and I'm not angry. I'm usually quite cheerful or just neutral most of the time. So I don't know, I just really don't like that stereotype.
Yeah, it's super hard, especially in professional settings. I guess you guys could attest to this a lot too, to be really passionate. For other people, it's seen as passion. So if you see someone who is white who is just yelling and screaming, it's oh, they're super passionate about whatever that topic is. And it's oh, they're super driven and super passionate. Those are the words that are used. But for Black people, if you're any other thing than happy, especially for Black women, if you're anything other than absolutely cheerful, smile all the time, nothing is ever wrong, it's a problem. Anyone else can attest to that, please talk back to me.
It's being a Black woman, just the angry stereotype. It's outside of that, it's you have to be, there's sassy, there's something along those lines. It's it bothers me because it's it's not fair for someone to just judge me just based off my skin tone, and just because apparently someone's just a Black woman is angry or something like that. It doesn't make sense for someone to just judge the next Black woman or just another Black person in general just because of that stereotype.
Yeah.
I would say since we really getting into it, just based on all the things that have happened and stuff that Black women have to go through, I feel we have every right to be angry.
Yeah.
Literally every reason to be angry, just the discrimination and oppression. A lot of people say that a Black woman is probably the most hated woman in the world, and I feel that's it's true. It is true.
Yeah.
It is true. It's whatever it is that we do, people either bash us for it, but then they'll go and copy it, and then they're praised for it. Long nails and fluorescent nails. We're always blown up for that, and just oh, that's ugly, that's ghetto, all that type of stuff. And then when white influencers on Instagram do it, they're oh my god, your nails are
so eccentric, you're so you're so woke.
Yeah.
Or it's the way they people talk, how people outside our race try to have a Black accent, what people put on the radio. It's just whenever we speak, it's why is that a ghetto or whatever when somebody else does it? It's it seems so cool, whatever.
It's sassy. And yeah. Or being told.
I just want to say the angry Black woman stereotype. I feel also, I don't know if you've seen videos of Karens, getting upset at black women. Once a black woman like does something bad, she's like instantly villainized, and I'm just like, how can me, I don't know, just doing something back, or not even being like aggressive back to someone, but you know, like a black woman is instantly villainized the minute that she says something is wrong, and like she doesn't even have to be angry. She can just be speaking her piece. So
it can be as simple as, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the thing you just did. It's like, oh, why are you attacking me?
Yeah.
Like having people say, oh, I was really afraid. Like most of you know me on a decently personal level. Like I'll talk to anybody. I consider myself one of the friendliest people you'll ever meet. And like having people that you know say like, oh, I was super scared to come to you about this because I thought you'd be angry at me. It's like, no, like it can kind of go either way.
Or, you know, you have your friends who aren't black, and like you'll be like, oh man, when I first met you, like I thought you were so like angry.
I thought you
Or
were
just be like,
scary.
oh, I don't want to mess with you because you might beat me up. I think you would beat me in a fight. I'm like, girl, I have never been in a fight. If you yelled at me, I would start crying. Like if I think you're mad at me, I would start crying immediately. So I'm not like angry. I'm not gonna fight anybody. If it came down to it, I'm like, don't fight me. I'll buy you lunch. Just like, just be my friend. Just don't hate me.
And it's exhausting to like actively combat those because it is an active thing. It's not just, oh, like I'm not that way. It's like, okay, anytime you walk into a room, like one, you have to think about the way that you'll be perceived by the people in the room. Two, it's like your safety in whatever space it is. Like, am I gonna go in here and be like super happy and go lucky and outgoing, or will that be seen as ghetto? Or am I gonna go like sit in a corner and just kind of be a little fly on the wall and be seen as having an attitude? Or like where is that line? It's a super weird place to walk at. You got anything, Charlie?
Absolutely. I was gonna let you guys say your piece.
Nah, go ahead.
Oh.
I'm not a black woman, so I can't really get into
Yeah,
that.
different
As far as-
stereotypes. Yeah.
Right, but it's stereotypes in general when it comes to the association with intelligence and whiteness, that whole Oreo type deal. When I walk into a setting and I articulate myself in a certain manner, happened recently, actually, I'm on the phone with somebody that I've met, they've never seen this person, they're like, well, I didn't think you were black on the phone, you didn't sound black on the phone. So then just to be funny, I have people that I know from my family that are from like inner cities. I know, you know what people say, what they mean when they say you sound black.
Yeah.
So I put on the voice, you know, like, oh, now you sound black. I'm like, that's crazy. Because now all I have to do is use some slang, not pronounce a word all the way, and then now you're associating me with being black now. Because that is the predominant image and thought of black people. It's like a monolith almost, what they believe. But it's something that I think is slightly better, but it's annoying nonetheless.
And with that being
Oh,
said,
we got a hand up in the chat. Go ahead, Jakai.
Y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right. So I want to piggyback on what Charlie said because pretty much something very similar happened to me very recently with the whole, you know, being black, but people, you know, it's like you articulate so they think you're white and stuff like that. And I think that's ridiculous. And I don't think what people who say those things understand is historically intelligence, articulation, the ability to read and write was so closely associated with whiteness that is dang near like they believe that too, even though we're not in those times anymore. And they show it and express it by saying ignorant crap just like that. Like recently, I was told that, you know, I remind somebody of a white dude who grew up in the ghetto because when I talk, you know, I talk all proper and whatnot, but when I start getting passionate, like you guys was just saying earlier, the ghetto comes out, and I'm just like, what the heck, man? Like, first of all, I don't even know you enough for you to even think about saying anything like that to me. But it's definitely an extremely annoying thing because it's just like now, like you like it puts me in awkward situations. Like, what do you want from me? You know. But yeah, I definitely do feel that stereotype, like how Charlie was saying.
And I will say with that point too, it's not even just like white people tend to do that because we self-actualize on ourselves a lot.
Yeah.
I get that more from other black people I know
Yep.
than other white people. They're like, oh, you've been hanging around with white folks too much, now you sound like them now.
Mhm.
It's like a whole where they think you're catching like a contact disease of knowledge or like articulation somehow. I don't get that. But it's like we perceive ourselves a certain way that if we go outside of the bubble that we set up for ourselves, then we kind of like put that on people that are different within the culture.
Yeah.
I got that one time. Like I was on the phone with someone, and I was just talking to them or whatever. It was like a white person I was talking to, my coworker, and I was into the call, and I was like, "Alrighty, I'll see you later." My friend was like, "Since when do you say alrighty? Like that's a white people thing." I was like, "I'm not allowed to say alrighty."
It makes me happy. Yeah.
Like I say it to kind of, because like we were saying, you have to you have to think about these things and how you come across, especially on the phone. Because sometimes I can't pick up hints, so I can't tell when I'm talking hard or when I'm talking soft. So I try to like keep it super happy-go-lucky, like happy all the time on the phone, and so that works for me. So I don't know. That's what I got. Anyone else in the chat, or should we move on?
Jakai, you again?
Yeah. So to piggyback on what Charlie said once again, because he's making a lot of good points of hearing it from other black folks like that. I heard it honestly like a lot growing up. Hearing that a lot from black people, and it's just like people say like, why are you talking like why are you talking like that? You trying to be white or yada yada yada. You ain't black for this, you ain't black for that. And it's just like, why do you think it's a cookie cutter picture of what blackness is, man? And it's very annoying because it's just like going into a point that I'm positive we're gonna hit later on tonight. But it's like being too air quote white for black people and being too black for white, or sorry, being too white for black people and too black for white people. And it's just like I just kind of want to exist. And I didn't think the same people going through the same struggles would be trying to kick me out for not being like them, when it should be like common that, hey, bro, we don't grow up in the same house. So, duh, we not going to be the same.
We sound different. Yeah.
Like, I came down here and I heard country black folk and I was like, bro, what is this? I'm from the city.
I did.
He mentions it all the time to me.
Yes.
Like, bro, but my thing is, I don't be like, hey, bro, you're not black. It's just like, you grew up down here. So, of course, you start sounding like that. They start talking about hunting and stuff like that. I'm just like, all right, whatever, I guess. You do you, I do me. Just don't come at me for not being like you when we look the exact same.
That's all I said.
Yeah. About the chickens.
Yeah, I
at
was like,
my house.
black people own chickens?
Yes, I get it all the time. Thank you. It's not weird. Thank you. We've always had chickens ever since I was in like 3rd grade.
Okay.
But I get it all the time. I know that, especially the more comfortable I get, or when I've been home for a long time, I sound like freshly baked cornbread. Like I get it. It's thick. The accent is thick and it's there. But that's how we talk at home. And I was talking to some of my students over the summer, some of my upper bound students, and I was just kind of detailing out the summer, hashing out how our sessions would go. And like a lot of them knew that I was like engaged or gonna get married, and so they asked me about my fiance. And one of the girls was like, "Oh, can we see him?" And as most of you know, my fiance is white. Like y'all seen Michael before, and they were like, "Oh, that's why you talk like that." And I was like, "No, that's not why." But so yeah, it's a thing. All right, we can go on. If no one else has anything on this one, we'll move on to our next topic.
Alright, spinning the wheel. We go. Ooh. Alright, this is one we have not talked about in Culture Shock, which is the black pedestal. And I think did you recommend? I don't know.
Whoever did,
Whoever
good
did is
idea.
basically how people want to put black people on this like pedestal where we're supposed to know us. Good lord. They think you're supposed to know how to do like black people things. So like they think all black people should know how to dance, how to sing, how to rap, how to do hair. I cannot cornrow for my life. I cannot. Like if I did, I'd be having wigs for days, but I can't do it. I also can't rap. So Karen?
Yeah, and see, like with that, I think it goes kind of both ways with other people outside of our community, and then with us because we tend to do it very, very badly.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like if you cannot dance, if you cannot cook, if you don't talk this way, or if you don't know how to braid hair, and then it's just like, oh, you're not, I guess, up here where you're supposed to be at, and it's kind of like you constantly, especially amongst each other in our own community, in a sense tearing each other down, because it's like you're constantly telling somebody that, oh, I guess they're not good enough to be black, or they don't fit, like they don't meet the standard. It's because they don't know how to do this or that. And it's like, okay, we're all gonna be different. I mean, many people don't know how to do many things. I mean, I can catch a rhythm, but I'm not fixing to say I know how to dance.
Yeah, a line dance, like I'm in country western line dancing now. I love that class.
Yeah, I can do that, but if you tell me to like, it took
Popping live,
right.
like
it took me until like 4th grade to learn how to do reject.
and it's okay. A lot of people still don't know how to do the
Still don't know.
reject. So, go ahead, Jakai.
Yeah, the this topic is very interesting because, and I'm not, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is sort of the same thing. But like, you know, I suck at basketball. I know Charlie there. He see me play basketball. I'm garbage. I cannot shoot to save my life.
He's capping right now.
He's capping?
He's lying right now.
That bro, I can play defense. I can't shoot, and so it's annoying for me to hear, like from other black people. It's like, dang, bro, how you black? You can't play basketball? Cause I ain't got no aim, none. This is why I suck at Call of Duty. No aim. I die a lot. I can't. I play soccer and I play defender because that's easy. All right. And then it's annoying to hear from white people like, hey, bro, you can't play basketball. I'm better than you. And I'm white. I'm just like, basketball is not a black thing. It's not.
inherently black.
We weren't even really allowed to play basketball for a long time.
Yeah.
So what you talking about? But that's my 2-cent rant. It is very annoying because it's just like a lot, because some of the stuff that they think is inherently black isn't. It's just a thing that they can't do.
Yeah. But I think it also goes in the complete opposite direction as far as like black people having to work twice as hard for half the credit. Like you have to be on your P's and Q's with every single thing that you do, and you're taught from a super young age. Like everybody's had that conversation with their parents. Like you look a certain way, you talk a certain way. Like you do these certain things as soon as you walk into. That's different.
I didn't get that out.
Like you do these certain things as soon as you go into anywhere because you don't need to be looking crazy. Just because the first impressions are everything, but especially when you're brown, like it's a completely different thing. Like. And like black children don't even really get to be kids. Like black kids have to grow up so fast because it's one thing to be like, I know like with non-people of color, it's like, oh, they're just kids, like, oh, they were just young, you know, everybody's young and naive. A lot of black people don't get that privilege. And that's exactly what it is. It's like, oh no, you should have known better. You should have known not to do this. Like, you should have been better. You should have known better. Like, this is unacceptable because you did this thing. It's not a whole, oh well, they didn't know any better, oh they've tried to do better. It's like you're done from the start. So like you always have to go into every single situation on the defense, almost like multitasking as soon as you walk into a room, as far as like, okay, who is here, like how do I need to be perceived, how do I need to present myself to everybody else. And you like recently, I don't know if anybody else follows the Olympics, I don't follow them super close. But what was it, Summer Olympics? So like black women dominated like gymnastics, track, swimming, and then the bar was moved again. So they banned like natural hair swim caps and like kept black people from competing in these Olympic sports. So it's like why does the bar keep moving, I guess is the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I just remembered about having to like grow up very fast. I know I didn't have this situation because my grandma is white, so I was able to kind of have like, you know, I guess the black perspective from my grandpa and the white perspective from my grandma. But I know there's like, nowadays kids can't really play in the front yard because, you know, they see what happened to Tamir Rice and they're like, dang, I don't want that to happen to me. And so that's like, you know, you had to talk with your parents, like, you have to do this, like, don't do this. Or now we know don't walk around with a hood on. Like, yeah, so can't do that. So like, there's different things that like we can't do. Yeah. So I kind of just like piggyback off of what other people do. So like I didn't get that talk. So like I walk in a room and I see how how are the black people sitting versus how are the white people sitting, and how can I kind of like mix that together so that I can look approachable to both, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah, because it makes sense because as black people, you're not allowed to do certain things because you can be easily criminalized. And my aunt always told me that I shouldn't talk. Okay. My aunt always told me if you go in there, you don't look suspicious. Don't always have your hands up. Always do certain things. Have your ID on the dashboard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just certain things like that because we're not allowed to like actually be given a chance to be accepted really into society. But they say that we are, like the justice system is fair.
Yeah, it's liberty and justice for all until you're brown.
Yeah, until you're brown.
Honestly. Because it's like you don't even want to run that risk of like, oh, well, today is a good day. Like,
Yeah.
So I get tight.
So I really just want to bring up like the keyword code switching. Like,
Ooh, that's on the list too.
like no matter what situation like we get into, like we got a code switch depending on the setting and people that we're around. And it's not necessarily our fault that we want a code switch because most of the time I be want to be myself around everybody. But sometimes I feel like I have certain barriers and certain things that hinder me from doing that because I feel like I got a code switch depending on my setting type thing.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know how to break that down, but if you don't mind helping me,
Yeah, for sure. We got that on the wheel. We're gonna come back to that one.
already.
Like just taking it like everything everyone's saying, so like I've been thinking about with this topic, it's like we don't have like a sense of identity when we have like be up on this like type of pedestal,
Yeah.
like we have to fit in one way or another way and have to figure out how can we fit in society, but also how can we even be our own selves, and then like figuring out like these types of standards, like are we really even trying to are we like kind of ourselves, like we say we try to be ourselves all the time or whatever, but like at the same time, like are we really deep down, or like are we still trying to figure that out,
It's like who am I versus who am I for everyone else.
I feel that because I had a big culture shock going to a predominantly black high school and middle school and elementary school. So, like we had certain phrases, things that we did, like mannerisms and stuff. And so when I get here, I'm like, okay, well, I know I can't do some of these things. I can't say some of these things. They're not going to be perceived well. And so now I'm kind of just like a completely different person. So I know, like, when I go back home, it's like I don't even know how to talk to some of my friends anymore because I, for one, have an awful memory. So I don't even remember half the stuff that we did and talked about. And so they're like, oh my God, you remember when he did this and all? And I'm just like, no, I don't remember. But, so yeah, I guess like for me, since I have a really bad memory, it kind of sucks forgetting those things, especially since those times were like very integral for me growing as a black person in America and a black woman in America, and I've kind of forgotten half of that.
Yeah. And like I went to a predominantly white high school. I lived in a predominantly white, like I live 45 minutes from Tifton. So code switching, but the other way is something I've always struggled with, like to be perceived as black by other black people. So it's like that's always been an awkward place for me because it's like if you're code switched all the time, like your customer service voice is on all the time, where is your like who are you, like you were saying, like who are you really, like where is that fine line? Is there a line?
It's like you were talking like code switching backwards, like I felt that because like even in my family, like even like I think it was like a couple of years ago, like visiting my great grandma's house because she was about to pass away, she was on the hospice or whatever, and like family members were talking about me and my brother and sister, like saying like, y'all some white babies deep down, and I'm like, so my skin isn't enough to show y'all like I'm black, and I can't just be myself or like speak the way I can speak around y'all, like I have to act different for y'all to not just say something that I'm not.
I think overall it really takes a toll on all of us.
Oh yeah.
It hurts our mental health. Like little do we know it. Like
Our wheel too. You gonna go through our whole wheel before we get to church. Anybody from the chat wanna contribute to this conversation, or are we ready to move on? Did that as a yes? All right. Okay. Spinning the wheel.
Okay.
Oh.
We got mannerisms. So this one, I mean, I guess it kind of depends on how you see it. I put it in there. I put it in there to kind of like be a little lighthearted because this is a very tough topic, and so I put it in there like different things that like almost all Black people do in America, at least, even though like we haven't seen each other. So, oh God, I have so many in my head, and I just forgot half of them. Y'all know what I'm talking about? If y'all can think of one, because I
Maybe like, how like,
Just a second, we'll come to you in a minute. Go ahead.
oh, there's so many over here. Go
okay,
ahead,
excuse
Tori.
me. I was saying like how like, I keep on seeing on TikTok how like, they keep bringing up like how Black people laugh when we start like running away and walking around.
How we hate each
I actually read that was actually rooted in slavery.
Slavery,
Yeah.
Because they weren't allowed to show any form of like laughter or happiness, so they would go run and like hide to make
Just
sure
laugh,
like
yeah.
so they could just laugh. And so, did y'all have any other ones? I know Terry.
That's what we were just talking
Oh,
about.
okay.
The laughing, yeah.
Like, either run away or we either like have to growl onto each other or.
Well, I kind of like the way like talking in general. It those mannerisms of, so we are very expressive, and so it's kind of crazy how us just talking with our hands now, especially if you go on TikTok or social media, if they want to imitate Black people or even Black women, and they start talking with their hands and how people like they clap, and you know it's like those are mannerisms we do just because we're expressive when we talk, but people now they like stereotype that I guess towards just mainly Black people. They're like, well, you know, if I want to emulate a Black person, I'm gonna talk with my hands. I'm gonna do this, that, and the third. It's like this is just what we do naturally.
Yeah, I just thought of. I'm sorry.
We'll go to Chikai, and then we'll come to Go ahead, Chikai.
The first thing that popped up in my head was like when I see another Black person, like I always like do the head nod or like say what's up. I don't know if that really count, but that's something that it popped in my mind when Taylor phrased that question, and I don't know why it's a thing, but if I'm being totally honest, I feel extremely disrespected when it's not returned.
Yep.
Like I would just be 100% honest, like, bro, I know you see me.
And it's not just the head nod, it's the head nod up. Because there's two.
Yeah.
There's the one down and there's the one up. It's the one up.
Alright, Charlie.
Yeah,
Charlie.
this is just, I don't know how or why, but it's funny because when you go to different parts of America, there are like different Black cultures, almost like subsects.
Yeah.
But universally, like the dap is something that like we all just
The dap
know
is
we know how to
universal.
do. Like I would just see a random Black dude and I was like, hey, what's up? Like as soon as my hand
Yeah.
opens, I know the structure, the format, the cadence, we know what to do
Yeah.
immediately. No matter who I've met or where I've
You
met.
gotta snap.
Or how
You gotta
Black
snap.
you perceive yourself to be, that's like the one universal.
Yeah, that's the one.
I don't get that or how that came to be, but that's hilarious.
I love it.
Yes.
I love it.
So sure, one thing that popped in my head when you say mannerism is all like different like unique greetings. Cause like I was gonna piggyback on you how you said at first, you know, sometimes you do the head nod, but sometimes, you know, like you'll see another Black person and sometimes you can interact with them like you knew them your whole life type thing.
Yep.
And sometimes you don't really even know that person. They might know your family member or something like that. They'll be like, hey, I ain't seen you in jail.
Anytime my mama
Like, I
goes
don't
to the
even know who
grocery
this
store.
is.
Right.
But at the same time, you know that family because you know
Yeah.
you can stand.
I know one I thought of, and I know like when I say this, all the Black people in here gonna make the same face when you hear something crazy, you know it's not true, you hit with that. It's so universal, even like through older generations.
Yeah.
Like you could go to your grandma, I mean my grandma white, so she don't do that. But I go to my grandpa and be like, man, guess what happened? He goes, what? It's that same face all the time.
Every single time. It's the non-verbals. All of the non-verbal, like the look that you do when you with your friends somewhere, you hear something crazy.
Or especially, or when you know you can't laugh, you just gotta.
You just shifting your seat just a little bit. When you peep something that's the same.
Especially, I just make sure that was just me. I feel like we say that on a daily basis. Alright, anything else? That was a
Any
good
other
lighthearted
one?
one.
Yeah, that was a good lighthearted one.
Because all the other ones are not lighthearted.
No, they're not.
They're not.
All right, let's go. All right, spin again.
Let's go. I really hope we get into this one.
Oh,
Tokenism.
Oh,
Lord.
Charlie, anybody want to start?
Being the black friend.
Yep.
Go ahead, Jakai, you can start.
I can understand. So like being, I think I was the second black CA at Lakeside, and I took so many pictures for so many things, and I was even told, yeah, if you weren't available, it was me, and even when you were available, I think it was even rare that for us to take a picture together. Cause
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna say that. But I've taken so many pictures while working on campus in one way or another, whether it be a CA or not. But it's weird being the token, but then you don't get representation. It's weird because like we want to take a picture of you, but that picture ain't gonna be nowhere common. You know, for example, I remember at one point I took a picture and I was on a website for a while, and then I took another picture with some other CAs during COVID. That picture ain't going nowhere. And I took I'm talking about any time you weren't available and there was a picture to be taken, I was most likely in it. Like, and it's crazy because it's like we need you to be in there so we don't look bad. That we don't look like we only just for white people. So we just gonna put you in there, that little sprinkle, you know, make it look a little taste of diversity. Bull crap. They don't know what true diversity is. It's one black person or person of color in a whole field of white people. That ain't true diversity. And so it's crazy that they need you to be the token, but you won't get no representation. That just mind-boggling.
And I also, to piggyback off of that, now that there are more people of color working on campus, they don't take those pictures no more.
No.
They don't. They don't put you. They don't like ask for your opinion on certain things of like diversity in your community and stuff. And so I found that weird because I remember like y'all telling me that before I applied, and then when I got here, I was like, well, shoot, I ain't taking no pictures.
Another thing is like at some point we had like over a handful of black CAs on staff, and still when it comes to flyers about anything on campus, whether it's like related to housing or not, we ain't on there but one person. Like, what in the world? And it's just like, bro, like, why is this a thing? Like, we as an entire school, I've heard so much that we're trying to, you know, push for diversity and inclusivity.
Yeah.
But you just got us in almost cropped out the picture. My arm in there. Like, what in the world?
That's that sprinkle, I guess. But yeah, it's that, and I don't know if anyone else shares this. It's like we're the most visible during Black History Month. Like January, we just kind of went to school here. February is all red, black, green, yellow, and then March will just be March. And when it comes to those like kind of what could we do better conversations, it's like like only the palatable people are asked. And like I know because I guess I'm perceived as palatable, like oh, you're not too loud, you're not too rowdy, you're not too this, you're not too that. Like you're a really good token of you're the good kind. Like you're the good kind. So like let me ask you what we should do for everyone. And if no one's satisfied, it's like, well, they're satisfied. Like, why can't you be grateful for like this little bit? Like, you sound kind of ungrateful because it's like, we gave you this, like, you got this little bit. You were in the picture. It didn't go nowhere, but you were in it. Like, we asked somebody. We asked you what you wanted. It's like, to just kind of be seen and exist. That's it.
And I know anytime like we want to do things for like Black History Month, we want to do things that we know can cater to Black people on campus. Like we wanted to do cookouts before.
Yeah.
But I know for a fact, like an actual like Black cookout compared to the cookout that we would be allowed to have on campus, we look totally different.
Oh yeah.
And so we have to like tone it down, make it, you know, palatable. Yeah, palatable, so that, you know, we would want people, of course, like anyone to come, but we have to make it to where it's not too Black, so that other people who aren't Black on campus won't like be afraid and like run off and stuff. So that's the thing that like we have to think about a lot, especially like I'd say like people in clubs like this, or even CAs when we have like Black History programs to do. We have to think, okay, like we need to make something that we know Black people know is for them, but we have to make it to where other people see like, oh, okay, this is okay. I guess I'll do this or whatever. And so, and that's the only time that we're like asked to do stuff like that is in this month, the shortest month of the year.
Yeah, it's like we're purposefully assigned like the Black History Month programs, like purposefully assigned those boards or those things for Black History Month, and like that's okay, but also please acknowledge it for what it is. Like if that's your reasoning, it's a reasoning that you have, but acknowledge it for what it is. Don't just be like, oh, this is just a coincidence when you know that it's not.
Charlie, you bring it.
That's the one critique I'll have about my school. I love ABAC with a passion.
Yep.
But when I initially got to ABAC, again, I assumed there were no Black people here. 'Cause I came from like middle Georgia where it was a PWI. I came here, I'm like, okay, cool, there are Black people here. But if there's like any event that's thrown on the campus, I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't feel like not that we're not welcome, but it's like a weird energy. And you see it in, when I first got here, all the black community on campus did our things away from the campus.
Yep.
Or like in little pockets, like, all right, everybody's gonna go to the basketball court at this time and hang out, play music and ball. Or we're gonna go to such and such's house off campus and go hang out. And it was like the Black community was united on the campus where we did stuff away from the campus. Anything the campus really did, and like you said, until Black History Month comes around, then it's like, oh, y'all come in and be a part of this. You know about your struggle, come be a part of this now. But any other event like the track and pool and things like that, predominant things on campus, it just doesn't. It has a weird energy around it. And I'm not saying we're not welcome, but we can go. Yeah. But it just, I don't know.
It's kind of like and why are you here?
Right.
Feeling. Yeah.
You don't really like this. Why?
Yeah. Like. I was like, I enjoyed the rodeo.
I love the rodeo.
Waiting for the next one, Brandon.
I actually went to a rodeo for the first time. It was pretty good.
Right.
It's pretty nice. But no, I feel as if during Black History Month, it's not even welcome then, because they're like, I had a Black History Month board, as a CA, and I put Huey Freeman up there, and he had his fist up, and it immediately got torn down, and it's not even there no more. Like, it just wasn't torn. Somebody took it. Like, I feel as if anytime we try to, okay, this is Black History Month, we want to represent for it, they're still like, they're not welcoming to it. That's all.
Like you almost don't want to do Black History Month here, just because it's like, okay, like you said, that fine line between like, how can I let the Black people know that they are welcome and that they have a space, but also keep it from becoming like a thing to where people like one of those, it's just another Black thing, like roll your eyes type thing, or how can I do a Black History board and appreciate like my people and my culture without it getting torn down, and every year they get torn down. It's just a game of like, how long will the board stay up?
Like
2 days, maybe.
Because I know you made a Black History board that said Black History isn't a month, it's a lifetime. Yeah, I believe they specifically tore off the Black History part. Left everything else, specifically tore off the Black History. I know when we had Miss Ruther Mae Harris come, was it last year or year before? Year before, it had her face, so there was a Black woman on the flyer, all the flyers were gone.
All of our Black History Month flyers got torn down within, a couple hours of us putting them up?
Yeah. And so whenever, I see like a Black CA, you're like, I really want to do this Black History thing. I'm like, I'm all for it, but I'll be honest with you, it's gonna get torn down. So I'm not trying to like rain on your parade. I just don't want you to get your feelings hurt. It's gonna get torn down in a couple hours, and it does.
Yeah, and it's really sad to have to be like, I love that you love, like you told, I was so excited about your board, but like at the same time, it's like, don't get your hopes up for it to be fine for more than a couple hours, or like don't like. Yes, you want to put a whole lot of effort into these programs and into these things for Black History Month, but also don't get your hopes up, because like turnout won't be great. It's not going to be welcome. Like, and honestly, it doesn't feel like you have the support of anybody on campus other than like a teacher or two
that will give extra credit if you show up.
Yeah.
So, Tori.
It's something I thought about with tokenism. Like, I work for Stallion and all, and like for this commission that's gonna come out soon, like being told like, hey, can you write about Black History Month? And I'm like, why, even though I get it, like, obviously I'm black, and it's like, they don't want to offend other people, like, have like maybe like a white person write the article, but at the same time, like, why I have to be picked for some, it's like, it didn't feel right, even though I've done it, it's just like,
Yeah.
It just don't feel right, like, I have to be the one to do it, like, I have
Yeah.
to be that type of that person to, like, write about Black History Month, even though, yeah, I'm black, but it's like, they just have to put that pressure on me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. I'm in a Civil War history class right now, and it's mainly about slavery. And so we're all like doing little papers and stuff. And usually when I'm in history classes, I try to stray away from slavery projects and stuff, just because I do, of course, I know it's awful. It was completely awful, but just doing that, making me have to like relive it through my ancestors, I try to stray away from it. Now I can't. I have to write a 15-page paper about it. And so I'm just like, of course I want to do this paper. I'm going to do this paper because I have to, but it just makes me very uncomfortable. And I can't just like go to my teacher and be like, I'm black, I don't want to do this. But like, I'm black, I don't want to do this. It's making me uncomfortable. And so, especially when you're the only black person in the class.
Yeah.
So, Charlie.
I was kind of.
I'm sorry. Tyus, were you first?
I was just gonna say like that's
Yeah, I didn't see
that's
you,
an
sorry.
experience like I don't really know how to digest, but I mean, shoot, that'd be scary, man. It's a memory.
Yeah.
I was on it's really a combination of the tokenism and the pedestal thing. When we're at, especially this BWI, when you're a black kid here, we've already kind of got over a lot of barriers to be at a collegiate level education.
Yeah.
But now that we're here, you have to present yourself in a certain way, like kind of combining a lot of stuff we talked about, where you have to look a certain way, dress a certain way, act a certain way, because you are therefore a representative from the entire black populace there, or just black people in general at that institution. So if you, like, this is something I talked about with Jordan a lot, because I asked Jordan, like, man, why are you dressing up? If you guys know Jordan Pittman, he dresses up every single day where he goes. And he was like, yeah, I felt like I was like the black token of my entire community, because even your community, like, you're smart, you're talented, you're gonna go far, you're gonna be our Superman, you have to be successful. You don't have a chance to fail, because if you fail, you don't really get a lot of second chances.
Yep.
Because you're there, you have like a stigma placed on you now. And we're like, yeah, we'll let you into the room, but we won't acknowledge you to the full extent before because you mess up.
Yep.
You don't get to make mistakes and recover and be redeemed.
Yeah, you don't get to make those simple child mistakes.
Right. Just basically what you said, like, I just thought about black excellence, where we have to put everything, push everything aside to focus on, like all of you have been saying, making ourselves palatable, having everyone perceive us as a certain way. So again, we can't make mistakes. We always have to be exceptional. So that's all.
And I'll make this point, then we can move on. I don't know if, because of tokenism, I know like in some of my friend groups, I may be the only black person in that friend group, and that group has never made me feel that way, like we're just friends, but you're the only black person in there, and so you kind of sit back and you look and you're like, I hope I'm not like the token. And even if, I know they don't see me as a token, but when other people see me with them, do I look like the token? And so sometimes I'm like, okay, how do I act in this situation? Because then you like hyper focus on it, you become aware of it, and then you're just like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do now. Like I remember I went out to eat with some of my friends, and all of them were white. We were chilling. It was somebody's birthday, and then I kind of just stopped, and I was like, oh gosh, like we are in the middle of a restaurant, at the biggest table, and I'm the only black person here, and I immediately feel like everyone was staring at me, and that I don't know if you ever feel like everyone's staring at you, and they probably are, but it's a thing that you become hyper aware of, and it's extremely uncomfortable, or especially when you're the only black kid in the class, and like you might walk in, and there's one seat in the back, and you gotta go all the way over there, or if you're running late, and it makes you look like, oh no, black kids late. Oh god. Yeah, I just want to throw that in there. All right, y'all ready to move on? Let's go. We've been on this for a while.
Question for Taylor.
Oh God. Okay.
So, and I've felt the way that you have felt. My question to you is, you said that when you're the only black person at the table, you worry about how if other people will look at you as a token. Have you ever experienced the thoughts of like what if another black person see me and it's like they probably would think negatively towards me, like, oh, I'm like a traitor or anything? Because I've definitely felt that way before. Like,
Yeah.
oh, they gonna think like, oh, I'm trying to be one of the white boys. It's just like, no, they're just my friends. Or, hey, he's just trying to be Hispanic. Because at home back in Atlanta, like my entire community, uh, like were Hispanic, and so my all my friends were Hispanic. It's just like I don't need people talking to me or acting like I'm a traitor. So I was just wondering if you have ever had those thoughts or those feelings.
I have with going to places with my grandma because she is white, and so, um, I did for some reason I got bullied in middle school for having a white grandma. Like, oh, you don't like black people, whatever. And I'm like, no, my grandma's just white because my dad's mixed. I don't know what you want me. I don't know what you want me to do about that. Or sometimes like I'll be in the store with her and I'm like, I hope people don't think I'm following this like random white woman, but it's really just my grandma.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've become hyper aware of that. Thank you, Jakai, so much. I'm gonna be thinking about it for the rest of my life now. All right, so the next topic is the LGBTQIA plus community. Okay. All right, Charlie.
Yeah, I'll hit on this.
Got that.
It's gonna sound bad, but like with the black community itself, there's like this thing where we don't really accept it to do. I don't really know how to explain it. Like when you identify yourself as part of that community within the black community, the black community kind of looks at you a certain way. Usually in like, I guess, more traditional, older black generation, more like us, our generation, we're a lot more accepting of it, obviously. But like our parents or our grandparents, they'll be like, well, we accept you, you're here, but not, they look at you a certain type of way. And then if I associate myself, I'm friends with somebody like that, they're like, oh, you want to move to that side now. You're not, you look, it's weird. If you are part of that community or you are friends with anybody of that community, you look at it a certain way within our community like that. I don't know if anybody else has seen it or felt it, but that's just what I've seen.
Yes, since I am in the community, I did see that a lot. So I usually get, so like I'm pansexual, so that means it doesn't matter what someone identifies with. If I like you, I like you. So you can be man, woman, non-binary, all of that. No matter to me. If I like you, cute, and you want to cuddle with me, it's all good. But I remember I told that to my grandma, and she was like, well, how do you know? And I'm just like, same reason when you were like 7 and you saw like this hot dude on TV, you're like, oh man, I like that. And then like when I told my grandpa or whatever, because he said a lot of like homophobic stuff because homophobia is very prevalent in the black community. And so I was like, well, I didn't want to tell you, like I've known ever since I was like a child. I didn't want to tell you because I didn't want to get like thrown in my face or whatever. And then afterwards he was like, I'm hurt because you didn't want to tell me. And so even if you were a murderer, like I still love you. I'm like, did you just equate my sexuality to murder? And so yeah, especially in my predominantly black schools at home, I did not want to tell anyone. Like everyone thought I was straight. I guess first I had to like internalize that and tell myself, okay, I'm straight, I have to look straight, I have to act straight or whatever. And when I got to college and I see like so many people in the community too, like I was like, okay, like I can like integrate myself into that. But like I have to think about it. Like I don't want to be like too flashy because I don't want to, come around like a black person and they're just like, ugh, or I don't want, because I know like a lot of gay things are perceived, I guess, is more so like a white girl thing. I don't know why it's like specifically to like a white girl. That's what I see a lot. And so I don't want to be like perceived as that because that's not what I am. And so it's still a thing that I'm like slowly trying to get into. So I don't know if anyone else that is in the community has gone through that.
We'll get Mac and then Jakai.
Yes, definitely.
Sorry, Mac. I didn't see your hand up earlier. I apologize. Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I'm the vice president of our Gay Straight Alliance here. And we actually I held a meeting about this yesterday. Did a whole little PowerPoint and stuff. And I think with being Black and being in the LGBT community, there's a weird intersection where it feels like I get hit from different sides, in and outside of the Black community, in and outside of the LGBT community.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm masculine presenting, so it feels like I get the odd stereotypes that come with being a woman, with being Black, being gay all at the same time, but they come together and create like unique stereotypes against me. You know, being a masculine presenting lesbian and stuff, not only, you know, sometimes I get equated to basically being a man.
Yeah.
But people will treat me like they would treat black men, with the stereotype of being like aggressive and
Mhm.
not very nice and loyal, just all types of bad stuff. And honestly, I feel like there's not that much representation, which makes it really hard. Like every now and then, like personally on campus, I probably only seen like 5 people that I feel like kind of look like me. So it feels like we kind of get left out a lot of things. And whenever, like you said, being around black people, sometimes it can kind of feel shameful growing up. Because
Mhm.
oh, she called herself liking girls, that's just so weird to them, to people and whatnot. But interacting, like with the GSA and stuff. When I first joined, initially I wasn't gonna join because I was like, oh, this club's kind of just like full of white people, so we have 2 completely different experiences. They won't really understand what I go through and whatnot. But I'm in it now, so I try to do what I do, but I feel like it's very complicated overall because
Mhm.
there's just so many layers throughout all these different identities.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was wonderful.
I was listening and I was just thinking how like I don't know how to be like I know how to be. I use like gay as an umbrella term. Nobody wants to say pansexual 500 times. So I don't know how I know how to be gay and I know how to be black, but I don't know how to be black and
Yeah.
like how do and the only time I see people like that they're on TikTok and they're like in cities and so like I feel like being a part of the community is more acceptable in the city, whether like despite like being in the South and like experiencing that homophobia and on top of that racism. So it is a huge I don't know, it's something that I'm like still super, super confused about. And so yeah, I was really hoping which she did Matt came in and kind of talked about it. So does anyone have anything?
Jakar, did you want to say something or you good?
I did, but I honestly I don't really now that I'm I guess I'm overthinking, but I didn't really understand the question.
Okay. So if you're good, we're just gonna move on.
Yes.
Yes, cool.
Everyone loving Mac in the chat.
We do. I would love for Mac in the chat. They
Yeah,
share me
she's
live.
Ooh. Okay. Yeah. I don't Oh, great. We talked about this.
We touched on it.
Well, did we talk about it or
We pretty much did. We talked about it.
Okay. Hold on, we done covered a lot.
Yeah,
of
we covered a lot of stuff
So we gotta
before
keep-
time, so we gotta keep spinning. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about this one more. Being a minority at a PWI.
So what is it like to be black at ABAC, essentially?
Yeah.
Anybody want to start? My lady, hold on. We're gonna let the ladies in the back if they would like to. Go ahead,
Well,
Terry.
it's like, if you get in trouble for anything, even if it's simple, you might as well get ready to pack your bags and go home. But if it's the other way around, because I know a whole situation where a student, well, when I used to work for the Stallion, a student, he got kicked off of campus for having a possession of a firearm or whatnot, and saying some really
Yep.
bad
Exactly what
things,
you're
but
talking about.
supposedly he was still allowed to come to class. And it's like, if he didn't look like what he looked like, he would have either gotten arrested or he wouldn't have been coming back to but he would not be coming to class. He would probably be sent home within the same night. And so it's just like, you automatically always notice those differences. And it's like every day you're like, okay, I know that even though I'm a minority here, 9 times out of 10, I'm most likely to be targeted or like get in trouble for something.
Yeah.
And it doesn't quite make sense, but that's just the world we live in at a PWI.
Go ahead, Josh.
So my experience is a lot of uncomfortability, a lot of thinking, and trying to make the right steps. Honestly, and I ain't trying to be rude, but to not get hung
Yeah.
because, like, for example, I did not know what is it called? Is it backroading is? And so it's
Mhm.
like when you go for some reason, oddly at night. I'm about to explain it. I'm about to explain it. You go out
Oh,
at night and you drive back roads while like blasting music and stuff like that. And that's cool. That's cool. But there's too many times where I done seen like that one black friend and part of the group go to a sleepover or go back roading or go hang out, and the next day they hung in the garage or they did, and everybody's story don't match up and there's no justice.
yep.
And also being, a black dude who wants to be a farmer, like I go out to the cow pastures. I'm not finna wear my Nikes out in the cow pastures. So I put on like boots. And so getting different stares and getting people like, I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think you would dress up like that. I'm just like, you talk about work clothes? I done had these boots since I was in the city because I don't want to get my feet wet because I used to work at a feeding sea and we used to have plants. So we gotta water the plants and I don't want my socks wet. So of course I wear boots. And so trying to be once again on the earlier topic, palatable. Like this year especially, I don't know why, was extremely draining because I felt the need to make my presence known in a safe way.
Mm.
And having someone super close to me who was white asking me like, why don't it was my friend as like wondering why I didn't talk to them much about my feelings. It's like because you can't help me in this air quote story arc. You have no idea what it feels like to try to make people feel safe around you
Yeah.
simply for the way you look. Like there's nothing you cannot relate it to anything that has gone on in your life or anybody else's life because first of all the black experience is different, but there are a lot of similarities in it, but you can't relate to none of those things. And so just the mental and physical drain of trying to make people feel safe while also trying not to be too white for black people and too black for white people, it's just all these things piling up. And so it is very uncomfortable, honestly. And then knowing if crap were to hit the fan at any time, being that you're at a PWI, you ain't really got nobody batting for you.
Yep.
So it's like you alone in so many different areas just for being black. And half the time, especially when you too white for black people, the black people don't even understand. So it's just like how you don't get it and we in the same boat.
Mhm.
So that hopefully answers the question. It's just uncomfortable, honestly.
It's even worse
And-
having to do that with their
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like having any type of leadership position at like a predominantly white institution, and for us at ABEX specifically, is exhausting. Doesn't even begin to describe the feeling. And like y'all have any, like y'all can attest. Y'all are in my direct line of sight, so yeah.
And what's even more draining is the fact that you can't have emotions.
Mhm.
Like literally, if and and I've asked this question before. It's like, hey, if I was called a word that everybody know not to say, then what? And can't nobody give me an answer.
Yeah.
I can't get upset. Even if I storm off and go by myself to my room and seclude myself, I bet not frown up my face because they gonna think I'm dangerous.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's like, dang, bro, what do you want from me? I can't be you.
hmm To constantly have to be someone's teachable moment. To like be like, oh well, like you know, like yeah, that situation was bad, but like you can help somebody learn from this. It's like that's not my job. Like I don't have to be your teachable moment. You shouldn't have to learn at the expense of a black person. Like Google is free, and most things are Googleable. I don't want to be your teachable moment. And it's like having professionals ask you to be somebody's teachable moment or to be their teachable moment is ridiculous. Like I said, exhausting doesn't even begin to describe it, because it's a tightrope walk with with a barbell on your back, from like just kind of teeter-tottering that line to like, okay, I need to be super outgoing. I have to speak first. I have to carry myself a certain way. I have to do these certain things. I can't talk this way. I can't talk that way. I need to be that person for everyone. And it's like you go above and beyond every single time. And like the one time you're tired and you're just like, you know what? I'm just going to do like average work, or I'm gonna do like the bare minimum. Like everybody else, like, oh, what's wrong? Like, are you okay? Like, what's the matter? You're not exceeding my expectations, so something must be wrong with you, because my expectations aren't being like exceeded. Like speaking from personal experience, it's like, I'm just tired. Like I'm just having a bad day. It's like, oh, and like having people that, like I said, you consider yourself like close with, to be like, oh, I was scared that like you were gonna be angry and yell at me, or to be like, oh, I thought you were angry. It's like, you don't know who I am then. Matt, did you have something to say?
I don't think.
We're still on the about being black at like a predominantly white institute, right? Okay, honestly, I share a lot of the same sentiment when people say, "Oh, well, I didn't know if there were going to be like other black people at this school or not." And even going into my classes, I could probably count on both hands how many black people I actually could remember seeing throughout all of the classes I have this semester. It's very awkward sometimes, especially my morning class. You know, I'm pretty early to everything, but sometimes I'll wait to the very last minute to walk in there. And you know, there's probably maybe like 3 black people in that class. And every time I go in, I see just like a whole bunch of white faces. And I feel like there's like a light shining on me, a very uncomfortable light. So I just try to hurry up and get to my seat. And it kind of makes it hard to want to engage with your classmates and whatnot, because it just don't feel like y'all are going to be on the same page, because it feels like they're going to see me as lesser than, or like I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that makes the classroom experience a little difficult sometimes.
Sanaya, you had something to say? Go ahead.
So I want to go back to how they said it's like uncomfortable, and in the situation, in the sense of like, I can't say dangerous, but you feel a sense of danger. And I want to say like my very first year at ABA, I don't even think it was like a full 2 months, and I automatically hated it. Like my first week, my mind was made of like, I hate ABA. Like I can say that freely because I did. And so I remember it was Black History Month. It was like the first week, and of course, you know, classes gonna be mainly white people, you know. So, you know, like you have in your headphones, but sometimes you're not listening to anything, but they automatically assume you are. I remember I had just came to class. It was a morning class, and I sat in front of like a group of white males, and so I had in my headphones, but I wasn't listening to anything. I think I had just turned on my music, and all I heard was there was like, it was in the sense of, they was like, yeah, my mom called me this morning. It was like, oh, be careful, you know, it's Black History Month. It's like, it's 30 of us. What do you have to be careful about? What are we gonna do to put you in jeopardy? Like, it's like 1,000 versus like 20. Well, why would you even say that? And so, I can't even say just on that half, but just the sense that they were comfortable enough to stand in front of a teacher, and the teacher didn't even say anything. So it's like, we're here, and we can't even trust you to back us up. You know, like, is mental abuse and like emotional abuse even worth the degree? Because like, I came here to get a degree, not to be judged and not to let you think it's okay. You know? So, and it seems like you say it's very uncomfortable. And even like just walking around campus, you can tell sometimes. So it's like, I just choose not to, because if something was to go wrong, the first thing that they're gonna look at is me. And the whole time I might have not even started it, but you're gonna assume that, oh, what did you do?
Oh, you're making a big deal out of
Yes, out of nothing. Like, that's so simple, but it's just a sense of, you could have said on your free time, in your room, or on the phone, but how would you feel like, how are you just that excited to get to class and say that, you know?
Yeah. We'll go Charlie and Terry, is that good?
So, I kind of hit it from two different fronts where you can have that level of uncomfortability that I just talked about, but because I am a very large individual, I can come across, I have to stay within myself. I can't make over exaggerated gestures or maybe perceived as me making an aggressive gesture or something like that. Especially in light, I've heard my whole life, hey, you can't wear hoodies, you can't this, and this, because it perceives you as a threat, and you're already a big dude, so people are already wary of what you say, what you do. So I feel like I have to go around everyone I see and be pleasant and put my face in your mind so that you associate me with being cheerful, being cool, because if you see me randomly at night, you're not just, oh, there's that guy. Which is even more crazy because now I'm a CA and I've been in the choir here, I've worked 3, 4, 5 different jobs, so I know a million different people. And I still am like, all right, I gotta make sure everybody knows me so they know when they see me, not to be afraid of me when they see me.
Yeah.
Especially at night with ADAC. Another reason why with Texas Park, we go fix the ADAC computers. I would go introduce myself to every single officer in there. So if I'm doing rounds at night, or if I'm walking, because when I'm walking, it's cold here, my hoodie up, I'm earphones in when I'm walking, I don't hear anything. I don't want a scenario where I'm being approached and I can hear and I make a quick gesture, but because I'm a large person, something happens.
Yeah.
So I have to make sure everyone that has the possibility of possibly having a power over me in that sense, I need to make sure you see me and you have a good thing associated with my face.
Because it's like at the end of the day, if worse does come to worse, it's like maybe you'll have somebody there to be like, oh no, he's not like that. To kind of speak on your behalf.
People in my corner.
Yeah.
I would say it's like, it is very isolating going to a PWI as a black student, because then it's like you get isolated from people who may have chose to go to a HBCU.
Yeah.
And it's like I follow so many pages that, it's about step shows and they do all of these Black History Month things, and it's like, okay, you want to participate, but they're like, oh, this is only for students who go to a HBCU.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, maybe even if you didn't have a choice but to go to a PWI, not only are you judged by the majority of students there, which will be white students, you're also going to be judged by people outside of school that don't even go there. And so it's like, you're kind of on your tiny little educational island, because whether you chose to go there, yourself, or you had no choice, you're just always being constantly judged by the people that's at your PWI and the people outside of your PWI. And it's just like, it's really isolating the fact that it's kind of like, well, while it may not be the absolute best situation, like, I don't want to be beat down to the point where I just absolutely hate it and regret it and don't actually get to enjoy my educational experience at college.
Yeah, I know I had a situation where I was in class and I was in a group with 3 other white people, 1 white girl and 2 white dudes. We were just sitting there having a conversation, whatever, and then they started talking, the 2 white dudes started talking, and one of them said the N-word to the other. And that was one of the first times I had heard a non-black person say it, at least in front of me, because like I said, this was my freshman year, I believe, maybe sophomore. So I was in a predominantly black school before, so I heard black people say it all the time. I was like, I don't care, you do you. But that was the first time I had heard it, and I don't know why he didn't say it in a derogatory way, he just called his friend that, and I was like, that doesn't make sense to me. And his friend kind of froze, and I can tell that friend, I don't think he says it, but he kind of just froze, and then the girl looked at me, and I was like, I know if I say something, something's gonna go wrong. So I have to act like I didn't hear it, and just move on. And then he looked at me, and I kind of purposefully sent a death glare at him. And so that ever since then, he'll see me and be home, be like, hey, I'm like, don't touch me, don't talk to me, sir, you're disgusting.
Again, we'll get Jakai, then Charlotte.
I was just pretty much wanted to tell Taylor, I am sorry that happened to you, because that does suck. And quite honestly, that has happened to me probably 2 to 3 weeks ago, honestly. And it sucks because you have to choose, do I be the voice for the entire race? Or because I'm at a PWI, I shut my mouth so I can stay here.
Yep.
Especially, because you don't want to play into the stereotypes of angry black woman, or for me, Dude, y'all see me? I'm about the shape of a twig, and I'm about 6'1", but I will turn to big, brawly, aggressive, gnashing teeth black man in like 2 seconds. And the thing that sucks about it is because it happens when you're the only black person in history class. Everybody expects you to know all the
Yep.
answers. They'll try, like, the teacher try to skate over slavery, but then when the teacher, tries to be like, any questions, everybody just looks at you. I'm just like, bro, I wasn't there. I wasn't even thought about. So what information do you want from me? I'm not the black encyclopedia. If you want information, go Google it like you Google everything else. You know? And when it comes to that situation that you were in, I wish I could offer you advice, but like when it happened to me, it was across class. So everybody heard it, and then everybody looked at me and just left the class. And I was even told, like, yeah, one person said that they wanted to leave before he got jumped. I'm like, jumped by who? I'm the only black person in here.
We should go come in as an army.
Yeah, because it's about 20 of us.
Yeah, they're waiting for the black
Has
people to get
everyone
superpowers.
suffered some type of trauma in an ABAC class?
Oh, yeah.
Is it? Okay. All right. For the longest, I thought it was just me. Okay.
Advice I could give you is what I did was I just went to talk to the professor, and he was in a meeting with one of his students, and I was like, hey, can I talk to you? It's kind of important. And he was like, well, this student thinks it's important. And I just looked at him, and I was like, because if you make me say what happened in your meeting, I'll make everybody uncomfortable. I had to be uncomfortable because you let this happen. Oh, I will like this. No. So that's the best advice I could give you if it ever happened again, in the classroom setting. And if it doesn't get handled from there, take it as high as it'll go.
Yeah. Charlie, then Matt.
Right. I will say, I want to shed light to where it's not just the students. A lot of it too, I feel like, comes from the people in the higher ups in power. In my own experience, this is a mistake I made, where I had an internship with an undisclosed organization in Tifton, and I did make a couple mistakes, and I wasn't able to complete that internship with that job. I had another job as well, and it was 4 weeks before we draw deadline, and the people above me were like, "Hey, this has never happened before. We're not going to be able to let you withdraw. We have to fail you from the course." And I'm like, "But why?" Because it's like a course, right? Why do you have to fail me and not let me withdraw? He said, well, you have to write, I had to write a paper to explain the entire situation to a board of professors. And then, at first I didn't think it was anything racial like that until one of the professors on the board called me. He was like, hey, before I put my neck out for you, I need you to tell me everything that happened, because I know, you being a black man here, how it can be. And you need to know from going forward, you have to be nothing but picture perfect excellent, or they will treat you a certain way. This is coming from somebody that works with the people.
Yep.
And it took, because I did so many things on campus, it took me telling my boss at tech support, me talking to Dr. Rowe, me talking to everybody I knew that had some form of say-so in school to go back for me. Because if not, they would have failed me, and I would have been in a worse situation.
Yeah.
And I was just I got really cynical after a while. I'm like, even the people upstairs don't. And it was me. I'm like, I've done nothing but, I thought great things on the campus. I mean,
Yeah.
I messed up once, and they were just going to throw me to the wayside because, one, I felt like I was black, and two, because they wanted to keep a good relationship with this organization.
Yeah.
They were going to throw me into the fire, make an example out of me.
Matt, did you have something?
No, actually, I didn't mean to put my hand up. I got disconnected for a minute, so I completely missed this question that we were
you're
talking
good.
about.
We're talking about being black at ABAC, essentially. Tyus, you had something. You had your hand up. Tyus, I feel like you got something to say.
What you gotta say?
But you open and honest.
Being black at ABAC, I mean, it ain't that bad, but I mean, you gotta move a certain way. Like,
Yeah.
if you look at a certain person wrong, you might have a whole lot of enemies just lined up waiting to come at you. But I mean, code switch.
Yeah.
Try to keep it pushing and try not to make no enemy. Try not to have anybody scared of it. I'm a real person. I ain't gonna do nothing crazy, but I got a temper too.
Yeah.
So,
I definitely feel that, especially now. I have to think about it more now that I work on campus. So before, like, I could just, I didn't have to code switch that much. And as far as code switching, it was just talking to a professor who is white, or maybe, you know, walking past a white person on the trail on the lakeside, you know, seeming friendly, but now like I have to sit at the front desk. And so I'm like, okay, well, I have to look approachable or look like I'm doing my job, because even if I am doing my job and I look like I'm not, I'm gonna be deemed as unprofessional already. And you know, I'm pretty sure I get that enough. That I got like colored hair in the back, I have a nose piercing, I have a tattoo, so I try to be as professional as possible. But now like I realize how much I code switch, because I give about 2 tours of Lakeside a week because of my phone hours, and so like I have to, you know, wake up super early and do all these things to make sure that I am like perfect in every way. Like there's nothing that they can look at you for and be like, ew, that was an awful tour, I don't want to come here. And so like I have to be super happy-go-lucky, and you know, you hear me, I'm talking, you know, cool like this, but like here at ABAC Lakeside we have 5 levels of security, and I'm just like, and then like, you know, as soon as they leave, I just like turn to the desk and I'm just, everyone's like, oh, you did great, and I'm just like, I'm tired. Like code switching that hard for that long, even if it is like 20 minutes, it's exhausting. It is extremely exhausting. I know that's not, I guess it still counts because it's ABAC, so yeah.
Jemiah's comment, love it. Yes, being black at ABAC is very much traumatic. Yeah. All right, so if everyone's done with this one, we'll move on.
We have some big
Got some
ones.
heavy hitters.
We have some heavy hitters.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about
I
this one.
really want to talk about this one. Okay, which was the African diaspora? I don't know how people pronounce it, but yeah, basically all of us our ancestors moved from Africa, and then we were all colonized, and now we're here, and half of us don't know where we come from.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Like, the thing is, we don't know what type of black we are. And so, yeah, I have no idea. So I had to like ask my mom, and she's like, yeah, like I'm Cameroonian, and I'm just like, okay, well that's like 50%, because I got my dad who is black and white, so who knows what I got over there. And so it's like, I want to connect to my culture so badly, because I love connecting to other people's cultures a lot, especially like I have a lot of Hispanic friends, so I try to like get into that culture as much, like the food, the music, the language, like all that stuff. Like I absolutely love it. I'm like, I would love to do that for my own culture, but I don't know what I am. So I'm just like, Terry?
It's kind of like this thing of we have so much stuff that is our culture that we created and adapted, but I mean now I guess it's American culture, because they try to tell us like all the things that even with nails and big hoop earrings. Like I remember being in elementary and middle school, that was just mainly black folks' cultural stuff. Like they would laugh at people for having acrylics and big gold hoops now, whatever. And it's like now, okay, that's American culture. That's a part of everybody. And so it's like, even with trying to figure out where we come from, like what exactly, you know, who we are, in some instances, it's like you get the boot from the people you're trying to connect to, and then you get the boot for trying to claim what you had in the first place. And so it's kind of like, it's really hard to filter through and like place yourself, you know, in this world. But I don't know, it's just sometimes you're just like, well, I guess I'm just a human being that likes a lot of things, because it's hard to connect and identify here, and then it's hard to connect and identify with what you started with in the beginning, because in both aspects it seems like it just constantly gets stripped away.
Do you have a comment?
Yeah, this is, I guess, similar to what Taylor was saying, like, would really wanted to like indulge yourself in your own culture, but not knowing what that is. One thing I struggled with was, I didn't want to ever come off to be the guy, and hopefully you guys understand what the analogy, but that guy's like, let me talk to you, brother. You know, you see what I'm saying? Like we all know that guy in some shape or form, and so I never wanted to be that guy. I just wanted to simply know, I guess, for lack of a better term, where I hail from, and start the, I guess, journey of indulging myself and loving myself in all of my parts. Because like I heard that my granddad was, I don't even know what he was, but this man was so many things. And then I got a whole side of my mom's side that I don't even know, but like on her side, we like Geechee. And so it's really hard trying to do that, you know? And I've thought about doing like what 23andMe or all that stuff like that, but I'm just like, I don't know how much I can trust that because I'll be seeing people's results and I'm just like, nah, bruh, that don't match up. Nah, that don't
Yeah.
match up. But yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, it's a weird, it's a weird thing with black. It feels like with black culture, a lot of our culture is like stereotypes we put on us because whenever we, it feels like we're always on a cycle of like, all right, we got this is in now, and then it's like Carrie said, it becomes American culture. It's like, all right, now we got to come up with something new, whether it's like a type of music, cough cough rock music, or it is like my grandma talked to me about a long time ago. She was like, people make fun of me for having a big butt. Like she said, people make like that was a thing to not have, and then now it's like people getting American surgery around the world now to emulate that, and I'm just like, yo, it's crazy. Everything we do is like now it's American culture. Now we gotta come up with something new, like a new trend, a new cool dance, or a new type of song, or it runs its course and becomes American. And now we gotta kind of come up with our own thing, and the only thing that people will see black culture is like the stereotypes that we're in. That the stereotypes become our culture essentially. All the stuff we do is taken from us.
The best way I ever heard, and then we'll go to Terry. The best way I ever heard it was described was on The Office, and Dwight said the easiest way to make something popular is to get black people to do it, so that everyone else wants to do it, and then you get black people to stop doing it. I was like, wow. Yep.
Hey, can you repeat that, please?
Dwight said the easiest way to make something super popular. It was the gym episode where Dwight made the Office gym or whatever. If anyone is interested in The Office, he was like the best way to get to make something popular is to get black people to do it, and then everyone else will want to do it, and then you get them to stop doing it. Wow. Before its time, that aged well. Go ahead, Terry.
Oh, I was just gonna go off what Charlie was saying, you know, how they take now the word trend is so popular and they interchange that with culture. And so it's like now everything that is our culture, it's all trends. This is the new trend, you know, this is trending on TikTok, you know. And it's like a lot of stuff that's obviously very cultural. People still, I mean, they do it, and even how they say, you know, with being shadow banned or whatever, a black person can do something that's very much a part of their culture and maybe only get a handful of likes for it, and then somebody comes and they're like, oh, this is this new trend I started, and now it's viral and everyone else wants to do it. And it's like, you know, that no, that's not a trend, that's part of a certain culture.
Yeah, think about like all of the white creators on TikTok who have like gone to famous status, and then the I don't know, the dances that black people have created that they like stole and that they got popular off of black people, like the black creators aren't popular, but you see so many white creators that like they make bank now, but all we get, like I was looking at a black woman and she was like, yeah, I have 1 million followers, but all I get is wigs sent to me. Like she makes no money, but that's all she gets is that.
And I know at one point on TikTok, if you typed in black anything, it would say, like, you know, we filter our stuff. It would say no, like absolutely nothing. Like, you know those like weird videos where you watch people get like their black heads extracted and all that stuff. I couldn't even watch those because I couldn't type in black head in there. I had to change the way to put black. I'm like, I couldn't even watch the pimple popper videos. And so it made me upset because I like those. But yeah, even on TikTok, people like they'll talk about how black creators don't get any credit, and then when they make that video, it gets banned from, or they get taken down, or like they'll get banned. So there's so many black creators that have had like 20 different accounts that keep getting banned just from talking about their experience. Charlie?
TikTok's the funniest thing about it too, because recently whenever that whole thing where all the black creators on TikTok were like, we're not making any dances for like
No
a
content.
month.
Yep, yes.
TikTok was dead. There was nothing going. It got to the point where they went back to like the jerk came back around. They were like,
Yep.
oh, we're doing something
We're
from
gonna
2005
do this.
again. So we don't have anything new because they're not giving us no content. to
That's a
see.
fact.
And of course, they brought the jerk back, which is already hard enough to do.
People
So,
get
bro,
hurt.
that dance is kicking they behind.
It was, I
Saw a girl
enjoyed it.
10
I was
minutes
having a good
trying to do
time.
that.
Yeah.
Those videos
I
brought me
didn't know
joy.
so many black people did not know how to do the jerk. I
Yeah.
was like, that was me when I was like in 4th grade.
All right, for the interest of time, we'll do one more topic, but spin the wheel and see what we get. If we don't like it, we'll get something else. All right, so on the wheel, we only have, what, about 5? Oh, yeah. Wanna do that?
Have we already talked about it? I mean, we can get here.
Close that. So, yeah, just close it. So we have Black History Month. Oh, yeah, we already talked about code switching. So, mental health, hair, Black History Month, microaggressions. Those are the ones we have left. Any
I like
Black History Month? Yes, I feel like that'd be a perfect way to close this out. Everybody good with that? So that's what we're gonna go with. How many times, I have a question. I'll start with a question. So how many times have you been asked, what does Black History Month mean to you? How many, has anybody ever been asked that?
I've heard it.
Yeah. Does that question make anyone else feel kind of weird?
It's really, to me, it's kind of a crazy question. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's just like, why are you asking me this? You know?
Yes. What do you
Why
mean?
is this a question that you're out of all the questions you can ask me about Black History Month? Why are you asking me this particular question? You know, and it's like, it's one of those questions that it just gets, it's so old and worn out by
Mhm.
now. It's like, okay, if another person asks me this, I'm just gonna get, please go away.
Yeah. And with that, like, we only get asked that during Black History Month. We don't get asked anything else. Like, you know, what is your experience being black in APAC?
Yep.
What is this? Or what are some,
How can we
like,
make
these
this
conversations
experience better?
We don't
Yeah.
have that. And so I'm just like, why don't you ask me any other time? Or why would I be looking crazy if I asked a white person, what does Christopher Columbus mean to you?
What does Columbus Day mean to you? What does President's Day mean to you?
What does the 4th of July mean to you?
Honestly.
Nobody asked us about Juneteenth.
Nobody asked
Nobody
about
asked us about
Juneteenth.
Juneteenth.
Nobody.
No,
A lot of
you're
people
good.
don't. We'll go. We got some people online. We'll go. Matt, Jakai, Charlie, if that's cool.
Yeah, I always feel like it's such an odd question because that makes me feel like, are you not thinking about Black people except for just 28 days out of the year?
Shortest
You
month.
know, as a Black person, I think it's important to know my history. So I'm always learning. And it's expected of us to learn about other people's histories as well,
Mm-hmm.
especially, white history, because that's considered the default history.
Yeah, American history, as it's called.
So that makes me think, do you ever sit down to self-reflect, wondering what's going on and stuff, and think about stuff that, didn't just happen 80, 70, 60 years ago, because there's important Black history stuff going on 24/7.
Yep.
Whether it's in like legislation, whether it's in the news, whether it's just about like trailblazers doing this or that. You got to know something else besides Martin Luther King did the March on Washington and that Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. Like, you got to know something else besides that. You got to figure out how to put this into perspective for today and what's going on. So I really hate being asked that question.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jakai.
So I can't really remember a time that I was asked that question, but I have a question for y'all. At some point during this question, will we be able to really talk about how we feel about it?
Yeah, for sure. Like that was just a general question that I had. So yeah, you can talk about how you feel.
Okay, so I feel conflicted about it because it's just like it to me for years has felt like a shut up tactic. Honestly, like from society, it's like we want representation, we want something, yada yada yada. It's like, all right, here's Black History Month, but just coincidentally, it's in the shortest month. Like, come on, man. Like, you can't sit here and tell me to my face that it's just coincidence. Also, when it comes to like the media, like I just seen, was it Disney Plus, HBO Max, like now all these movies, these black led movies are pushed to the forefront, but
Yeah.
only during Black History Month, and then they go back in the freaking closet because they're only there for ratings. And so once again, it just feels like it's a trend. You don't really care, you just want the money, and you love the culture but hate the race, and it's really, really annoying because it's just like I said last culture shock is like my life isn't just a trend. It's not, and it's really annoying because you can capitalize on all these things, but let one person make a mistake or step out of line, that person gets demonized so much to the point to where they don't have a life anymore, and if they do, they don't want to live it.
Yeah.
And it's like I want to celebrate it, but at the same time, it's just like I don't really know how to feel about it, honestly, because it's like I don't want to play in to the game, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like to me, it just feels like a game is like, okay, here's some representation. Shut up. I don't want to play into that. This shouldn't just be during this month. I think it was just Mac that said something about like Black history versus American history. This freaking country was founded on the backs of slaves. So how and why isn't it just American history? Also, why is it an option to take any course about Black history, but you have to take government courses or American history classes? That's BS.
Yep.
Like it doesn't make sense. And so I'm just like, I don't want to play into the game because I don't want to like. Do I want to support Black people? Yes, but I feel like this sweet victory of getting representation has quickly turned into a shut up tactic, and I don't want to play into that. You know.
Yeah.
So while I do enjoy it because like you have discussions like this, at the same time it's just like I don't know.
Yeah.
You know?
I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
That does make sense though.
Charlie.
I'm gonna keep it a bug with you.
Huh?
I'm gonna keep it a bug with you.
Uh-huh.
It's gonna be kind of controversial. I don't really think Black History Month should exist, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, again, there's no Jewish History Month, there's no Japanese History Month. They try to like kind of what you they cram all of our history and impact and representation in almost like a little under 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
That's when like, oh, well, this guy invented this, or this black man invented the refrigerated truck or something like that. They try to, all of our accomplishments are compounded to this day or into this month, and then like it's forgotten about after the fact.
Yeah.
And then you'll hear like throughout the month, where I think it was like a trend on Instagram for a minute, where like they would show the origins of like a lot of like the ice cream truck song, or a lot of other
Yeah.
things being like racial things that like they're predominant in American society, but they were founded in slavery or whatever. Or like the Aunt Jemima, like stuff slowly kind of getting caught up with now, but the Aunt Jemima thing now, the Aunt Pearl's Milling Company all of a sudden, you're starting to catch up a little bit, but it's weird. It's either like you guys, it's a cash grab, or way to shut up. Like when you beg your mom for McDonald's for 5 weeks, and she's like, "Here's a Big Mac, shut up, leave me alone for this another 30 days." Like they kind of give you something to hold you over. But again, we have the White History Month, 24/7.
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting better. I'm not saying that to be a pessimist. Like, again, like Columbus Day isn't really Columbus Day anymore. It's more like Indigenous Day because he needs kind of coming to light, and the Aunt Jemima thing, ice cream trucks, all this stuff is kind of like being brought up. But it's sad that most of it being brought up by us because we had like, oh, let's go look at stuff. That's probably messed up too. That's messed up. It kind of feels like we're in a fight alone to make things right.
Go ahead, Chicago.
I'll stop right
Yeah. Oh my bad. Did I cut you off?
I totally agree with Charlie. Honestly, I was beating around the bush on that point because, like, how he said, like, he just said, like, we celebrate White History Month every other month other than Black History Month. And like I was just saying, it doesn't make sense that Black history is what made the country, but it's not taught only for an option. So I totally agree with Charlie. I was just honestly beating around the bush on those points.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Like, honestly, like you don't get representation until this month, and then even when you do, you get backhanded compliments or sly comments that you can't do anything about, or you're gonna wind up getting life.
Yeah. Like, yeah. for me, it feels like you get your 5 black people, you get MLK, you get Malcolm X, kinda, not really.
Depends on
You're
the school.
pushing it with Malcolm, Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and sometimes George Washington Carver. And with peanuts. If that. Like,
You might get Emmett Till.
maybe, and that's on occasion.
And the thing is, when you get George Washington Carver, ain't nobody got the facts right.
No, they
Peanut butter. No, he didn't.
He did not make peanut butter. He like repurposed how farming is done and made the land like he came up with a whole farming system. Like, yes. He did not make peanut butter. That's not what he did.
To piggyback off of that, like it's always the same people. Like even today, like we are hearing about those same
people.
Like 4 to 6 people. What about like the things that we have created that will be Black history?
Mm-hmm.
You know, when our kids are in school, because I feel like they're gonna learn about the same thing. Like they're not ever gonna learn about, you know, if they might learn about like our first, you know, Black vice president who was a woman, maybe, possibly.
And they're gonna say that she's only half black.
Yeah. And so like that's what like I wonder in the future if we're still gonna get those same people or if, you know, we're gonna actually talk about the stuff that we do now, which will be history then, or like will the Black Lives Matter movement probably be like in a textbook? Will it be grazed over or will it be in detail? Like it makes me think of what Black history will be in the future.
Mm-hmm. And to me, just kind of Black history in general, people act like we're so far removed. Like, to me, that's mind-boggling because my parents, or not my parents, my grandparents, so like 2 generations above me, remember when schools were integrated. They remember going to segregated schools. Like, they remember when schools finally integrated. So like a generation before them, did they even, you know, like 2 generations back, what is her name? The little baby that went to school. Ruby Bridges.
Yes.
She is still alive and well. Like she's just now like what, 60 something? Yeah, like she's in her 60s and 70s, so we're not that far removed from that history, and it's mind-boggling to me that people are like, oh, like that was so long ago. It's like, no, that was just the 60s.
And
That was just
like in there.
Yeah, my grandparents are like what, in their 60s?
And like,
Yeah,
and it's
so like it's not that far removed. Go ahead, Johnny.
We get somebody on campus that's, if you go talk to Dr. Susan Rowe, whenever I have a voice lesson with her, she tells me like when she went to school, I think she was in like middle school, she's like, I remember when they integrated school.
Yeah.
In my mind, that's like, she's gotta be 80 for that. That girl ain't that old.
No.
That girl's not that old. And she was in integrated schools before and after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
You know how wild it would be if we didn't have to like, if like the Revolutionary War was optional to learn, or the Holocaust was an optional thing to learn.
Yep.
I'm like, that's crazy.
We'll go Jakai then Matt.
Yeah.
Jakai, go.
My bad. I was talking, but I was muted. So talk about how these things aren't so far removed. Like I just found out, I think it was a month ago, that like my mom's grandma who raised her, like they were sharecroppers and they were like at the tail end of slavery. And I'm just like, these things have effects because like since they raised my mom, her grandparents who were sharecroppers, I know for a fact that affect how I was raised. You know, and it's annoying when people don't see the ripple effects or choose not to, you know, and just trying to put it into words to express to people is just like, it's dang near like it happened yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, like regardless, like it literally didn't happen yesterday, but with things still going on in America, just rebrand it and tweak just a little bit to get away with it and operate in these gray areas with these laws is dang near like it happened yesterday. You know?
Yeah.
And it's freaking ridiculous, honestly. And when you talk about these things, you get on the black side sometimes, oh man, you know, that's just, you know, that's just the way it is. And then on the opposite side is just like, man, that doesn't happen. It's just like, bro,
Mm-hmm.
This man got shot for brushing his hair because they thought it was a weapon.
We got like president, come on now.
Yeah. Now, yeah, Barack Obama is another 5 now.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, and like even the historical thing. I'm sorry, Matt, that I jumped in front of you. Even the historical things that are happening now, like you can't be removed from all of that trauma when it's still happening now. Like Philando Castile, Mike Brown, like too many to name. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, like these are cases that are happening now. Like people around our age, not that far from us. So like it's super hard to be like, oh, like you can't really feel that way. Like you shouldn't feel that way about it. It was so far in the past. It's like, no, it's not.
Younger than us.
Yeah.
Tamir Rice.
Tamir Rice, younger than us. Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, this is just going off what y'all were saying about being far removed. Like honestly, the oldest generation probably right now probably were the ones who lived through World War II or just being born around there, a little bit older than that. My grandma, she was alive when segregation ended. And a lot of these same circumstances are the same today, but they try to make it seem like it was so long ago. That's why they, use like black and white pictures. They use the same images, the same videos that everyone's used to make you feel like it just happened so long ago. It's just something for you to learn now. But I think that also goes to having like the proper representation, the right people in the room recording this history. Because a lot of the history that we do learn about Black history is incorrect, or they leave out a lot of important details.
Mm-hmm.
And even now, we were talking about will Black Lives Matter be in textbooks and stuff, but they were rewriting it, the protests as they were happening. They were saying that they were just violent riots and stuff. They were having all the wrong information. They had all the wrong information about Black people. They were getting murdered. And it's all this stuff is still happening today. I'm trying to think what I was trying to say. There was a point I was trying to get to. But it just goes down to, they're going to say this stuff was riots in the future and stuff.
Yep. Like, how will it be in textbook?
Yeah, because they're probably not going to get it right.
Mm-hmm. Here. And just like going off what Matt was saying about how they write history and leaving things out. It's like, even in Black History Month, I wish we would stop starting at slavery. Because it's like they write the history books and it's like, when Black people come into play, when is it? Okay, slavery. And it's like, that's not where our history begins at all. And so it's just kind of like, they keep starting us at the oppressive point because they want us to be oppressed. So it's like, 10, 20, 30 years from now, when the next generation, or like we have kids, when they learn about history, I mean, the Black Lives Matter movement is probably going to be demonized, more than likely. And like all the stuff that happens, even just like with now with the Civil Rights Movement, how they try to demonize it. And it's like, y'all don't talk about how you killed all very many vocal people who were really just advocating for change, But even with Malcolm X, Malcolm X, they took Malcolm X and they very much demonized him, They didn't want somebody who wasn't just going to be soft-spoken, and just beat around the bush. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, not talking about him, I don't think I ever actually talked about Malcolm X. And with the school in school, and it's like with the school that I went to, it wasn't a public school, so it wasn't a certain curriculum that had to be taught. And I don't think we ever celebrated Black History Month my whole time going to that school. And so it's like, you don't learn your history, and then, I mean, you do learn some gems during Black History Month, but it's still just watered down history. Yeah. It's like you have to dig and find, true, authentic history if you really want to know. And then even then, people are like, well, are those sources reputable, this, that, and the third? But you can Google something about George Washington and they're going to tell you like, oh yeah, that's right, that's right.
Yeah. Nobody wants to talk about how his dentures were made of slavery.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, like, yes, that's a thing. Go ahead.
Oh, it's my last thing, and I'll be quick with it.
Yeah.
There's food regarding Terry as far as like the demonization of it. And kind of regarding what we talked about earlier with not being that far removed, somebody like Fred Hampton, right? They said this man was a communist. Like they labeled him a communist. I asked my grandfather because I was curious. Again, my grandfather saw MLK as a kid. My grandfather said he saw and like went to speeches where Fred Hampton would speak, would talk. He's like, I don't know how they ever got to that because all he did was like try to unite not just black people but all poor people in general, and then like open up schools for free food and da da da. He's like, I saw him. My grandfather told me this. He heard and saw the speech, and they're like, I don't know where they got that from.
Yep.
But that was spent later after he was murdered and assassinated in his sleep.
Just like with the Black Panthers, like they started the breakfast program,
Yeah, like,
but to hear everybody tell it they were just a radicalist group,
My mom's a Black Panther. And they still around. And she
and it's like our whole healthcare system and welfare, I mean, all that is based off the model from the Black Panthers.
yep.
Yet when they portray them as this group that's toting guns for no reason. They just try to paint them out to be, quote, thugs, as they would say. And it's just like, no, that's not what it is. Because your whole health care and welfare system is based off what they were doing and giving people for free. That you now, people have to be almost beat down, poor, and oppressed by your standards just to get help.
Yep. Mac, you got something else?
No, y'all really hit the points I was talking about because we could go on all day about all the Black history facts that are completely wrong or all the stuff that they left out, which is also conveniently the bad stuff that like the white government was doing to like these Black history leaders and stuff. It's just a lot of this is just whitewashed, and it's just gonna keep being like that with the way things are going probably.
Yeah,
That's why we got to make sure that we're telling our history, not letting other people tell it, because they're not going to get it right.
yeah.
And slavery was like 10 times worse than like what they tell it was. Like I just found out why, not maybe like a year or so ago, that the plantation owners, slave owners I knew they would like rape the women, but I did not know they would do that. Yeah, I did not know they did that to men as well and children. Like I did not know that. I couldn't like wrap my head around that. And so when my teacher talked about it in class, I was like they just did that for fun. Like
Yeah.
so cool.
With the whole buck breaking thing, and this is something I wanted to bring up when we were talking about the LGBT plus community. I was talking about this to someone the other day. I was like, the South has a really big hatred for like gay people, but they used to buck break. And to answer your question, Taylor, I know you weren't really serious about it, but like they used to do it for fun. No, it's similar to what you would hear like when you go to prison, you find the biggest guy and you beat the crap out of him to assert dominance. So they would find the biggest slave and publicly rape him in front of all the slaves to assert dominance. Because like if you could do that to him, what else you could do to me? You know what I'm saying? And so hopefully that shed some light. And I had something else to say because Mac just said something that like sparked it, but I cannot remember anymore. Oh, this is a thought, and I remember now. So she said that it should be us telling our history. I heard this thought, and it really resonated to me. It was like, when like we are the only race that allow our oppressors to teach our children and us about our history. And of course, it's never going to be the complete picture. Like, I just found out, and there's a book about it, about how white people used to eat like slaves as delicacies. And it's called The Delectable Negro.
Yeah.
And so, of course, like when you like, I tried to start learning about Black history, and I'm thinking, dang, I know why they left this out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the freaking iceberg. And so, yes, I totally agree with Mac in that we have to be and it sucks because when you try to look stuff up like this, it's conveniently hidden.
You gotta do some soul searching. You gotta dig deep. But this was good. I enjoyed this conversation. We always have a super great time with this program.
I don't think anyone cried.
No, nobody cried this
Wow.
time, which is good. This is the first time we made it all the way through this without crying. Great job, guys. Thank you for everyone who came in person. Thank you to everybody who came, who tuned in online. I hope that everybody left with at least a little bit of something, whether it was just kind of getting that off your chest or learning something about other people. That's all that I have for tonight. So with that, we just kind of deuce it out.